All right, well, welcome back to Exhaust Sports Auto. My name is Kevin, and we are here to do a comparison between this 2015 Lexus GS 350 and a 2014 Porsche Panamera 4. So why am I doing this? Well, because you don't seem to watch anything but Lexus videos, so I decided to compare this, a good car, with a seemingly great car, for the mainstream media, how hyped up Porsches and in general German cars are. And I want to compare it with this because I love how this car drives. I have reviewed this car twice now, but I can't seem to get enough of it, so I'm doing it once again for the third time. But I wanted to do this a little different, of course. So who do we have to thank for this opportunity? It is none other than Cabriolet Motors. Both these vehicles are theirs. All their information will be down in the description box below. If you would like a discount on any one of these vehicles, you may absolutely get one if you mention my name. However, I don't get anything out of it. It's just a discount for you because otherwise I need to keep this review objective, of course. So no more talking. All their information will be down there. Let's just get this bad boy out of the road. I won't really cover the interior of this car because I already did it twice already with this car. So watch those reviews for interior look, but both these cars, why am I comparing the two? Because I like how this car drives a lot, and I want to see, what do you get when you pay up for that Porsche? It's about $13,000 more, even at this dealership. So and brand new, the Porsche was about $83,000 starting price, and these things kind of top out about $55,000, something like that, brand new. And here's the thing: I've also driven the F Sport. So before you say, "Oh, but you're not driving the F Sport," no, I'm not, because I've driven the F Sport. I like it. There's actually a difference, but it's so subtle it's not even worth mentioning. But it does exist, and if you like the way the F Sport looks, absolutely go for it. But it does not deteriorate from the ride quality or anything like that, so enjoy it. See, this is also the model with the 8-speed automatic transmission. There's nothing wrong with this 8-speed. I absolutely love this thing. No problems there. The 6-speed is also amazing, and like I mentioned before, my other Lexus reviews, the 2013 to 2015 model years, are the ones to go for because they are just tuned so much better than the 2016s and up. They were just neutered with emissions regulations and all that stuff. There's just such a lag and delay with the newer 2016 and up cars. These are just perfect. They are so immediate to react. I like the steering in this better. Obviously I tried the variable gear ratio in the F Sport model, and it's nice. There is a legitimate difference, but it's so subtle. The regular GS 350s from 2013 and 2015 are absolutely perfect. No issues there whatsoever. And honestly, specs wise, I mean, these cars are not that far apart. This and the Panamera, because the Panamera, I get it. Porsche is like the uncompromised performance, they don't skimp out anywhere in tech, in material choices, in nothing. And I want to know just how far apart these cars are, or maybe just how far apart they aren't, because this car utilizes the 3.5 liter V6 that we see in pretty much every Lexus product, and it produces about the same 306 horsepower and 277 pounds-feet of torque. The Panamera makes like 310 horses and 295 pounds-feet of torque, so about 4 more horsepower, about 20 extra pounds-feet of torque. Panamera weighs about 4,000 pounds. This weighs about 3,700 pounds or 3,800 pounds. This is the rear-wheel drive, so that's another big fun advantage that this vehicle has. This car is so much fun to just chuck into corners. That rear-wheel drive dynamic is excellent. You can get this thing a little bit sideways. It's a fun little car. I'm telling you, this Lexus is not compromised at all. I mean, it's fun to drive, and it has a good motor. When you step on this thing, it sounds very good. Great sounding motor. Absolutely love that. And I've actually driven a 2010 Panamera, but it just was not the best condition, if you will. This one, the Panamera that they have here at Cabriolet, is so much nicer. It's like pretty much mint condition. It's about 50K miles. About to step into that in a bit after I'm done driving this bad boy. Okay, just kind of flooring it here. Great induction tone. That's what I'm saying. This thing, it's so nice to wind out because it's naturally aspirated, builds up the power. Obviously, this is a bulletproof drive. This thing was built for reliability. You know what I'm saying? Yet it's so much fun to wring this thing out, and I don't think Lexus quite gets the appreciation it deserves in the car review space, if you will. I mean, they just brush this off as some boring driving car, and it's really not. It does everything. I think owners understand this, that this kind of does everything you need as a street car, and I'm just so curious to see how much a newer Porsche is going to do against this, because the Porsche kind of got revised for 2014. It's like got like a mid-cycle refresh thing going on. The one I drove was 2010, literally the first year that it came out, and I like driving that car a lot, actually. If I was to make some comparisons with that car, I do still think it's a bit sharper than this car. That's to be expected. However, this is as sharp as you need a vehicle to be, and that's kind of my point with Lexus vehicles. You know, this is about $27,000. That Porsche Panamera is about $40,000. I feel like, you know, both of these cars, obviously there's a big prestige difference between the two, you know, big swaggy Porsche versus this. You know, I think both these cars are vehicles that people aspire to own, you know what I'm saying? Like this one a little bit more so in the obtainable realm, you know, it costs about the same as like, you know, a brand new Camry. And should you get this over a brand new Camry? Well, with the warranty, sure. Most people don't even get these things with a warranty. I still suggest you do, but this thing is so tried and true that I guess you don't need it. With the Porsche, you definitely need a warranty. So that's another thing you definitely need to pay up for. But I've heard Porsche reliability isn't the worst thing in the world, but still, I'm just saying, the Porsche parts, man, they cost a pretty penny. Whereas this is something that you might even be able to work on your own, who knows, or if you just have a good mechanic on your hands. But yeah, there's nothing about this driving experience that raises any alarms for me. You know, it's comfortable, it's pretty quiet in here. Everything feels natural, from the steering, the weight, everything about it is calibrated perfectly. So it's just like, you know, what more could you ask for out of a car? I mean, yeah, there are cars with more capabilities than this, obviously, like the BMWs and the Porsches. And you do feel that, honestly, even out on the road. I mean, a lot of these car reviewers, especially like the European fanatics, you know, they have access, you know, they have big budgets, so they have access to racetracks and stuff, which I do not. But a racetrack is really the only practical place where you can see that extra capability being realized in some of these European cars, because out of the street, doing 45 miles per hour, there's only so much capabilities that can be utilized out here. So there's that. But it's just more of an empowering thing out on the street when you drive something like a Panamera. Like, you know, the car can do way more than what you're pretty much doing with the car. And that's a cool feeling, I suppose. But hey, it is what it is. I just don't like the turn signal for his generation. I don't know why they made the turn signal like a BMW turn signal. Very dumb. It doesn't just cancel on its own. Very annoying. But anyway, that's really the only gripe I have driving this car. It's always such a difficult thing to explain to people. You know, I don't really have, there's nothing about this car that bothers me about driving this car. I feel like, you know what the biggest competition to this car is? It's really a Genesis G80, but nobody wants to hear that because everybody hates Korean cars. But it's honestly true. The G80, it's basically like this, except with even better handling dynamics. Maybe choosing rush hour traffic was not the best time to, you know, do a car review. However, that's okay, because this is the realities of driving a car, sitting in traffic. And you know what? For that reason, you know, this is where Lexus always tramples everything. You know, the reliability plus just the plushness and not really raising your blood pressure. You know, it's a shame that they stopped making this car, but I guess it doesn't matter because they kind of ruined it after 2016. But it's just like, nobody really appreciated rear-wheel drive driving dynamics. At least a new Lexus buyer doesn't appreciate any of this stuff. So that's why the ES always outsold these GS cars, and that's kind of a shame to me. I mean, this thing, it's so much more fun to drive than an ES. The power just winds out beautifully, but this driving has pretty much been concluded now. Let's go ahead, jump inside the Panamera, because this interior space, well, I'll say this about the interior space before we move on. I mean, it's aged perfectly. There's no creaks and rattles. It's so freaking solid. I mean, these things are like time capsules. This thing has 62,000 miles, feels like a brand new car. I drove this car with 250,000 miles. Still feels great. There's like 1 or 2 rattles. That's about it, even at a quarter miles. All the electronics and functions work perfectly. HVAC, everything. There's nothing about this car that does not work. So that's amazing, and that's why these cars are so sought after, especially the GS 350. And the rear-wheel drive driving dynamics of 2013, 2015 are amazing. 8-speed is great, so is a 6-speed. No issues between the two. Now let's go ahead. Let's hop inside the Panamera. All right, so inside of the 2014 Porsche Panamera 4, let's just get this bad boy out on the road. I guess for a lot of people, though, looks are a big deal with this car. Nobody at least on the internet, they don't seem to like the way that this car looks. I absolutely love the way that this car looks. I think it's got a pretty cool appearance to it. Kind of reminds me of like a whale, you know, in the rear end, I guess. A lot of people, they don't seem to like the bulbous looks, but you let me know in the comment section if you like the way that the Panamera looks or not. Because most importantly, the thing that matters with these vehicles is not the looks, but in fact, the drive. Forward here. Got my water bottle going all over the place. That's all right though. Okay, so like I mentioned before, in the Lexus Drive, this thing produces about 310 horsepower, 295 pounds-feet of torque. Honestly, for like an $80,000 car, I mean, not the most unbelievable thing, but I like the sensation of power that this vehicle produces. This car, the motor is a 3.6 liter, so it's got 0.1 liters over the Lexus. All right, whatever. But that's not the point. This is a very charismatic motor, and I love this motor. I think this has even more charisma than the Lexus motor, even though the Lexus motor is great in its own right. I love it with the induction tube that it has going on. Like, the induction sound is definitely amplified in the V6 Lexus products, and I love that. This car is going to produce a little bit more road noise or tire noise because it's actually got a little bit wider tire setup than the Lexus. Lexus had 18-inch wheels, so that's going to help with the ride quality, but it was like 235 wide tires in all four corners, and honestly, that's all you need. Even with the rear-wheel drive, that car was never slipping or anything like that. That was perfect, and so there wasn't an insane amount of tire noise associated with that car. Whereas this is like 255s up front and like 285s in the back, yet it's an all-wheel drive vehicle. It's definitely over-tired, and grip is definitely not an issue that you're going to have with this car, that's for sure. That's obviously, it's going to give you a nice planted feel to it. It's going to be, it's going to feel a little bit more next level compared to the Lexus. Now, what does next level mean? I mean, a lot of people, they think I'm like Mr. Lexus, you know what I'm saying? Because I review a lot of Lexus cars and all this stuff. I'm not Mr. Lexus. However, I will say Lexus is definitely a vehicle that is, Lexus and Genesis, they're both cars that are not portrayed properly in the car review world, I guess. And that's why I want to give those cars a chance that it actually deserves. And now this car, yeah, it drives great, but it's just like, you know, I'm going to test more of that in a bit. However, you know, you already kind of know that this is going to drive great. It better drive great for like $80,000. You see what I'm saying? See, look at that. It's got the 7-speed dual clutch, of course, the PDK. When you put your foot down into this thing, it definitely does effortlessly get up there. Brakes are tremendous. You know, the braking is great in both of these cars, but this one, they're very nice progressive brake pedals. You have to get in on them to get all the braking performance. I love that. Let's see here, chuck this little thing into the corner, see what it's all about. So this is obviously a little bit different, all-wheel drive. However, yeah, the turn-in on this car is definitely better than the Lexus. Now, what does that mean? What does that translate into a everyday experience? I guess not a whole lot, because the Lexus also turned in pretty good, but you know, this is just a little bit better, I suppose. Yeah, it's just a lot more neutral, the dynamic. It is objectively a better machine, that is for sure. See here, floored a little bit here. Yeah, everything, it kicks down nicely, predictably, and it'll even kind of hold the revs a little bit there. Love it. Ride's pretty good, not as well as the Lexus, because the Lexus had 18-inch wheels on it, of course, and Lexus always is, man, they nail the ride quality every time, and that's why they are so good for daily driving purposes. Now, both these cars do have lean and roll and all that good stuff, but this car, I mean, they both have like double wishbone suspension, all that stuff. They are not on, they don't compromise. However, this car is going to utilize a little bit more aluminum and things of that nature within the suspension components and even the body and all that good stuff, so that's great. Now, here's the other thing. This car, it just feels a little bit more neutral in its body structure, especially, and that's kind of why it has a more pivoting sensation than the Lexus does. So there's that. Now, let's just kind of put this thing into the sport mode, and let's just launch it here. Jesus Christ. Sport definitely changes its demeanor, that's for sure. Yeah, it's definitely a lot more violent. It definitely does sharpen things up. In the Lexus, sport mode does not feel this sharp. Feels good, but just not this good. And it does still soak up the bumps extremely well. It's a little bit more of an extended wheelbase vehicle than the GS is, so it's got that going on. They're both very predictable in its handling demeanors, because, you know, they obviously are mid-size sedans, if you will. So good long wheelbase, predictable body structure, all that good stuff. Steering is about the same in both of these cars, honestly. But yeah, you can also get the Lexus with all-wheel drive, and you will actually get a 6-speed automatic, and the 6-speed automatic is amazing. I definitely do like that transmission. And both these cars, because you can get all-wheel drive, they're very, you know, all-weather friendly, of course. So that's pretty great. Yeah, I will give it this. The immediacy, everything about this car, it's a little bit more edgy, and that does make it a little bit more fun. However, a rear-wheel drive GS is also a lot of fun. You can slide that thing, no problems. Now, is this like 30K better as far as a brand new car goes? As a package, yes. The appearance, it's a Porsche, the prestige, and you know, this stuff matters a lot. You know, I know that's subjective stuff, but no, it does. It's a big package deal, I guess. This interior, I will get to that in a bit once we're parked. However, it does feel a little bit more premium. Like the layout is a little bit more premium, so there's that. And the looks, you might not agree with the bulbous shape, but this attracts a lot more attention. It does look the part compared to the Lexus. Lexus is a little bit more of a generic shape, but I think a lot of people might like that. Again, this is all very subjective, but I'm just saying from the outside perspective, this stuff matters, and that's kind of where your extra 30 G's goes into. And of course, the driving dynamics, a little bit more neutral, a little bit more edgy and sharper, I suppose, a little bit more fine-tuned, and you pay up for that. And it's not a drastic difference, but it's a difference that you notice. And does the F Sport help to kind of close in that gap? Not much. It has a slightly sharper steering rack, but that's about it. Power-wise, they both pull identical. I mean, that's to be expected. They both weigh about the same. This thing weighs about 300 pounds more, and it's all-wheel drive. Yeah, pulling-wise, it's about the same, but the sound and the way this car kind of feels, like the characteristic of the motor makes you feel like you're going way faster than you are. When you switch it into sport, it's like pretty unbelievable just how much more aggressive everything gets. It is not that different of a switch in the Lexus, I'll say that much. Test more of that here in a little bit. About to bust this little corner. I like the turn signal in this Porsche a little bit more. It's not like that stupid turn signal you get in the Lexus / BMWs that doesn't cancel on its own or whatever. But yeah, I'll say this, I also feel a lot more important driving the Porsche around. That's, you know what I'm saying? Again, it's very Graham-worthy, that's for sure. Let's see here, all right. Bust this corner, see what it's all about. They're both naturally aspirated motors, and that makes it, you know, there's no turbos. And actually, I will say for this generation of Panamera, if you got the S model, no more V8s, no more naturally aspirated V8s. You're going to get a twin turbocharged V6, which that might disappoint some people. I know it definitely disappointed me. But these naturally aspirated motors, they are just tremendous. Love it. And these cars, they will definitely match the speed, especially this Panamera, dude. This is a lot like the Cayenne. Watch my Cayenne reviews as well that I've done. I've done like 3 of them. They all match the speed from you greatly. You can be doing 20 miles per hour over the speed limit and not even know about it. So in that way, it's pretty relaxing, but I will give the ride quality to the Lexus, primarily because it's riding on 18, so there is that. But yeah, as a whole, I mean, rest assured, you're going to be happy driving either of these cars. Both of these cars are going to lower your blood pressure. You're going to feel like you made it in life. These are definitely bargains. Now, I will say this is $13,000 more than the GS. Is this car worth $13,000 more? Again, like I mentioned, with the new car scenario, yes, it is worth the premium to step up to this car, because as we're about to see, this isn't just your typical sedan. It's also got a hatchback in the rear. Very practical, although it is just a 4-seater. More on that in a bit, but yes. If you want the legendary reliability, just the no BS factor, and the cheaper parts associated with owning a Lexus, then definitely go that route. It is definitely tremendous and definitely worth taking a look at, because they're both satisfactory. And for 27 grand, that is one hell of a car, man. I think it's the interior is slightly a little bit more tighter in the Lexus than it is in here. However, this is not bad at all. Porsche is like definitely the next vehicle that ages effortlessly, and I mean, just so damn solid in here. I absolutely love it. It's like the Lexus, but like the layout is a lot cooler in here. So I guess let's go ahead and let's talk about this interior, because a lot more buttons going on in here. The way it's laid out, both the Lexus and this Porsche, they all utilize physical buttons, at least for this generation, for the climate control, all that good stuff, and I love that. If you get used to this center stack, it is so great to live with. I will say the infotainment in here is not the best. I've said this multiple times in our Porsche reviews of this generation. it is just so annoying, and there's definitely a learning curve associated with it. Okay, so now that we are parked, let's take a little bit more of a detailed look. So yeah, I like the physical buttons. Obviously, the new Panameras, you know, they all just use like this big, stupid piano black plastic thing in the middle. It's very annoying, the touch haptic. They just went so extra with it. This is that last generation of just like easy to use button switches, all that stuff. So you just get used to it. It's fantastic. You got heated and cooled seats. Lexus also had that, and you got the nice physical gear lever. Love that. The paddle shifters are kind of extra and dumb. I never use them in these cars. You got Le Mans style key switch like that, and the automatic headlights, all that good stuff. Pretty much all these features you find in the Lexus as well, but memory seats. Yeah, one touch up and down window switches. Surprisingly, it is not double pane glass. And actually, it wasn't in the Lexus either, but certain models like the F Sport was, I believe, so there is that, something to look into. But yeah, at least it's one-touch windows. I will say the Bose system does sound better than the regular sound system of the Lexus. However, the sound system, even the regular one of the Lexus, is absolutely fine. No problems with it whatsoever, but this Bose is definitely hitting. I like that. Not as much space in here. I mean, this is a little bit more of a compromised space. You just saw my water bottle just absolutely fly out there, so there's that. And the other additional cup holder setup is definitely, that's not working at all. And the interior space in here, you know, it's a decent amount of space in the center armrest. I don't mind that. And the glove box is also pretty decent as well. Got more array of buttons up here. You got a sunroof as well. And as a whole, yeah, it's a very tight, well put together cabin space. I love that. Very similar to the Lexus, but I will say this has a more, you feel like you're in a more expensive car when you're inside the Porsche, simply the way they laid it all out. But the Lexus interior is also very solid. And actually, I like the infotainment in that better. I know a lot of people hate the Lexus infotainments, but I personally love them. Steering wheel is also very excellent, very easy to use steering wheel, very kind of basic, but I love it. It's a great thing to grip onto, so I love that. And also, I will say that these seats, both the seats in these cars are absolutely great. No issues there either. So it's a nice, solid kind of German vibe to it. I will give it that. It's a little bit more of an uncompromised vehicle. Obviously, it's built to a higher price point, all that good stuff, but material choices in here are also very good as well. Now, the rear seats, again, I'm actually not tripping over this because the middle seat in most cars are pretty useless anyway. So in this car, they just did away with that. You got like a captain's chair set up in the rear, and I can definitely fit back there. It's not an issue. But the Lexus is definitely the more spacious and the more practical choice, that's for sure. And the trunk is also very large in the Lexus. However, in this, you got a big old hatchback space. This pretty much, you got SUV capabilities with this thing. It's got that much space. You can fold down the rear seats. You can't do that in a lot of rear-wheel drive cars. You can't do that in the Lexus. You can here, and you got so much space. You can put anything you want in here, and 4 adults can travel around in here comfortably. That's not an issue. So there you go. That's my look at the Porsche versus the Lexus. As you might have expected, I like both. You already kind of knew that. However, you know, is the price premium worth it? You know, it's about 40 grand with about 53,000 miles on it. With the warranty, this is absolutely lovely. Now, here's the thing. After the warranty, probably time to sell it. Whereas the Lexus, you can kind of keep it long term. I've driven these things with 250,000 miles on it, and man, they are just bulletproof. The motor still pulls strong in the Lexus, even with that type of mileage. It's more so of a time capsule. I've driven these cars with 100,000 miles as well. These are more so determined, like the way they age is determined by how the previous owner kind of treats them. This one is obviously flawless. It's been well taken care of. I mean, Cabriolet typically has like the, you know, nicely curated vehicles, of course, so there is that. I do think this is a superior car as a whole. I'm not just saying that because it's a Porsche. You got to admit, these things do cost like, you know, 30, 40 grand more brand new. So it does show in the drive. I can't deny it. It's a nice little machine. This is just the base Panamera. Porsche makes a great car. They know what they're doing. They know how to calibrate a good driving car without sacrificing too much of the livability, so I appreciate that. But that Lexus isn't compromising much either. It just doesn't have the edge that makes it extra fun, but the rear wheel drive does help. So with that, hopefully I answered your question. If you have any more, you know, if I didn't address something that's important to you, leave it in the comment section. I'll be more than happy to answer it for you. All of Cabriolet's information is going to be down in the description box as well. Please do definitely check them out because they have been very kind in lending us these vehicles for an extended period of time to do these car reviews, so definitely do thank them as well. So appreciate you guys watching. Watch the end screen for additional videos. Thank you again. Take care. Goodbye.